Monica McNutt. You know, we call people multi-hyphenate.
It's true.
Caitlin Clark last night, she was a licensed photographer. She's credentialed. She's taking pictures. And she's going to want a picture of this. Look at LeBron James with the right-handed slam in traffic.
Put it in the time capsule. Hope you got that moment. I mean, he just continues to defy what is normal for his age.
Luka Doncic, at any age, that's a pretty tough shot.
Yeah, man.
The Lakers open a 14-point lead. Luka would score 21 in the first quarter.
Yeah, he just continues to be on an incredible scoring streak. I mean, he's put this Lakers team into a conversation where you're kind of like, are they legit?
Watch LeBron's left hand. Watch the left hand. Look at him. I mean, look, at 41 years old, fighting through traffic, throwing it down. Lakers by 24 after the foul shot. We're still in the first half. The Laker lead is 21. It's Luka. He had 28 in the first half. Lakers just completely dominating. Now, 2 minutes before the half, I want you to watch what LeBron does here. Okay, off a miss. Here's LeBron. Watch the traffic. There's three guys that fall at his feet and looking down at him. Monica, that's disrespectful.
I mean, they have won 16 games, so you get it.
I guess it is. LeBron would score 23. Luka would score 43. He was just unstoppable on this night. He has been 11 consecutive games with 30 points or more for Luka, tying a career-high streak of its kind, and there's more. Luka, this was his sixth straight game of 30 or more on the road. That is the longest streak by any player since Michael Jeffrey Jordan in 1996.
Bring me back my crew.
Bring me back my crew. So I'm old enough to remember, like, 3 weeks ago when people were telling me, oh, the Lakers, they're a poorly constructed team. They can't play any defense. They're not a legitimate factor
I said that.
in the Western Conference. I'm not saying any names. I'm just, I'm not pointing any fingers at people who said that. All of a sudden, what are we saying about Luka and LeBron and this collection of Lakers with 10 games to go in the season?
Yeah, and look, they've got the pecking order in place. Luka is on an absolute tear. He's a legitimate MVP candidate, leading the league in scoring efficiently. LeBron is thriving in that kind of backseat role with Austin Reeves riding shotgun. No question the Lakers have the firepower to make a deep playoff run. The question is whether the defense will hold up. They are defending well right now. I mean, last night they kind of mailed it in on that end, but it was the Pacers. Overall, they're defending well right now despite their personnel. They're doing it with a lot of smoke and mirrors. They're doing it with hustle and scheme. The question is, can that scheme stuff, can the smoke and mirror stuff hold up in a 7-game series against elite competition? That will define how deep the Lakers can go in the playoffs.
What do you think, Jay Will?
You know, Greeny, I agree with Tim, but I'll say this. You go out, you get a guy like Marcus Smart. There's been all this buying, like, when he was in the lineup, his plus minus in this win streak is probably the best it's been for this team the whole year. DeAndre Ayton, getting him to buy into being a rim protector. I think a lot of this comes down to, and Tim, I saw you shake your head. That is questionable, right? It comes into JJ Redick and the schemes defensively. Like, and at the end of the day, defensively, those two pieces, the firepower operating at a prolific pace, and the scheme of JJ Redick will ultimately determine the ceiling of the Los Angeles Lakers.
So, McNutt, you're the expert. I'm just a fan. But I can see this. Dallas made an unexpected run to an NBA final with Luka Doncic a couple of years ago, and we thought this is the formula for Luka. We knew exactly what you need to put around him. This team is the opposite of that. Right? They don't have any of the things that team had. But this seems to be a little different. They have more ability to help him on the offensive end. It feels to me, just for observing it, like this mix is kind of coming together in a nice way.
In the regular season, Greeny, yeah, over a 10-game stretch. I take nothing away from the Lakers. I think they've been great over this stretch. Luka is literally in an 11-game stretch where he's averaging a half a point less than 40 points officially. But as I look at the standings, okay, maybe they get Houston. Well, in this instance, you seem to be a better clutch team than we've seen the Rockets be. And we saw last night in terms of the Rockets. But after that, no, I'm not taking them over OKC potentially. I'm not taking them over San Antonio potentially. Like, no. And so I think the issues that we've seen are still very legitimate problems. And I would say this, yes, Dallas gave us the formula, but Dallas was a team that didn't have to scheme, as Jay pointed out. They didn't have to coach that defense. Like, that defense was legit. Like, you had guys on the back end. Their job was to block shots and cover for Luka, point blank, period.
Right. And that's it. And this team doesn't have that. I'm sorry. I thought you were going to. I was just looking at the number here. The Lakers are pretty much locked into 3. Not for certain they won't get caught, but it seems unlikely. They're almost locked into 3. Houston is very likely to be at 6. Tim, you covered that team. You've covered Luka his entire career. Does this mix, I mean, he's playing right now at a level that is about as high as we've ever seen from him. I know it's only been whatever it is, this 10 games. We've seen him do this over the course of an entire season. What are you seeing in him right this minute?
I mean, this is who Luka is. He is arguably the best offensive player in the league. I mean, he is a scoring machine. He's a basketball savant. And when he is locked in, he can contribute on the defensive end, which we are seeing. He can be a defensive playmaker. He's big. He's got great instincts. He has great hands. Monica, look at the steals. Look at the playmaking. And JJ Redick will tell you, this is a team stat, not necessarily an individual stat, but when Luka is on ball, statistically, that's when the Lakers, he's the Lakers' best perimeter defense based on statistics. Again, that's about scheme behind him as much as it is about what he's doing on the ball. But the point is, they know how to protect Luka on the defensive end and how he can contribute on that end.
So let me just ask you this, McMahon, because you're in Dallas. I defer to you. I think you're right. Let me give Luka his credit for the effort that he's showing. But I remember when the conversation was that Luka just had to hold long enough for the help and the support, the scheme to do their thing. Is this Lakers team, in terms of scheme, help, and support, built as well as those Dallas teams, in your opinion?
No, and it gets back to what Jay Will was talking about. Can you depend on DeAndre Ayton to anchor a defense in a deep playoff run? Now, he did it during Phoenix's finals run. That was a long time ago, and there's a reason that he's on his third team in the NBA despite being a number one overall pick. Can DeAndre Ayton be a dependable defensive anchor? If he can answer that question in the affirmative, then the Lakers absolutely have a chance to come out of the Western Conference. There is plenty of reason for doubt.
Yeah.
Monica, I'm with you. I saw that look you
Jay.
gave. I saw the look you gave, Monica. I'm with you. I'm like, I don't know if I trust in that.
I hear you, but.
And this may not be, Jay, the day for you to be giving a lot of nonverbal signals, to be totally honest with you, because where you're sitting just keeps getting darker and darker. I don't know where you are, one way or another.
Luka on an app's going bananas.
Hey, anytime you have Luka on your team, you got a chance to win, because he's good enough to come in your building on the playoff night and upset you and your fans, right? So he can win a game on the road by himself, because he can drop 50 on you and laugh in your face while he's doing it. So, yeah, what Luka has done for the Lakers is always, they're going to be in the conversation, right? I don't know if he's done what Wemby has done. Wemby has put you in championship conversation. Jaylen Brown holding on until Tatum comes back puts you in championship conversation. Luka puts you in, okay, we're good in the playoffs, we've exceeded expectations, but we're not talking about the Lakers winning the championship this year. And to me, that's the difference.
Interesting.
And IT, there's been a lot of stories and developments about Luka and complaining to the referees and whining to the referees. What's your take when you see a guy do like that? Is that just competitiveness? Is that fire? Does that annoy you like it annoys a lot of other fans when they watch him play?
I'm going to call y'all a generation of whiners, too. Y'all whine a lot. You know?
He's talking to you guys. I'm on IT.
I mean,
yeah, it's true.
Okay, this is what I'm going to ask you to do, Vito, when you get a chance. Ask your crew, your research crew.
Yeah.
Go back and look at 1988, the Phantom Foul, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar against Bill Laimbeer. That cost us the series in Game 6. We would have been the first team to three-peat during that era. But I want you to look at how we handled that situation with the officials on a bad call, a championship, winning. None of us oh man, you got none of that. I made the call. We all was like in disbelief, but it wasn't no.
Well, you didn't get to do this either. You didn't get to do this back then. This is
that's the worst. That's the worst.
And I'm gonna say this to y'all. I love when y'all call me OG, because it's a sign of respect, but it also lets me know, okay, it's different, right? And this is how y'all say, oh, OG, it's different, man. Y'all used to have wear suit and ties. We don't have to do that no more, man. We can come to the game any way we want, OG. You know, things are different, man. You know, it ain't like that. Oh, we got 2 buses now, OG, and one of them is a
we up to 3 now, Zeke. We up to 3 now.
One of them
We
is
up to 3
another
now.
kind of bus. You know, we got 3 buses now. So things different, man. You know, it ain't like that no more. Oh, y'all had to be on time? Oh, OG, we ain't got to be on time, man. Things. I may have to go with Kobe, but it ain't that much. It ain't that much. Now, to score it or to win the game or to make the right play, I'm gonna go with LeBron.
Yeah.
But if it's just that one guy who has to make the bucket to score it, to win it, I'm gonna go with Kobe because to me he's a better perimeter shooter and can get to the basket. But LeBron, you know, you ain't gonna lose either one of them.
Oh, it's a good problem. It's a good choice.
Zeke, I want to stick with scoring here for a little bit because Bam Adebayo obviously had the historic
the road trip, how important it was going to be. Some of these games were very taxing and challenging, and they passed basically every test. They lost the one game, but it was in Detroit. It was a great win for the Pistons, but I think it was absolutely amazing. And here's the thing. Not only is Luka scoring all these points, like you can go find stretches of games, like you're looking at Jordan because it's on the road. You can go find stretches of games where guys scored lots of points, but the efficiency that he's scoring with is what's so jaw-dropping. I mean, he's shooting 50% in this stretch, over 40% from 3. That's just, I mean, in some of the shots, Stephen A., the difficulty, the game in Miami that they played last week, the shots that Luka hit in that game, it was one of the most enjoyable moments I've had watching basketball this season, watching that game in Miami with Luka making that shot making. But I want to point something else out. In this 6-game road trip, he's got 17 steals. And I know that steals are not always the defining way you look at how well a guy's playing defense. And trust me, I promise you, if you break down the possession by possession, there will be possessions on this road trip where Luka was a traffic cone on defense. But there is no doubt to me, Stephen A., watching this Lakers run, how much harder he's working on defense. And I see LeBron doing it too. Luka's getting his hands on a lot of balls. And so the question is can this lead them to the finals? Last night, Oklahoma City lost for the first time in a month. And you know, they've only got a 1-game lead essentially on San Antonio because San Antonio has lost 2 times in 2 months. So when you look at that as the standard, who's ahead of them? It's very difficult for me to say, oh yeah, Luka's going to lead them to 8 playoff wins over those 2 teams because that's the pathway they're looking at. But the one thing I'll say, Stephen A., and then I'll hand it to you. The Spurs and Thunder are awesome. I believe that those 2 teams, one of those very highly probably is going to be in the finals. But I just will go back 1 year. I don't need to lean back on 2012 or 2007 because you know you and I have been around a long time. We can go back to that level. I will just go back 1 year where in March of last year, I saw this little engine that could start putting things together and start having impressive wins and their star player doing impressive stuff. And that was the Indiana Pacers. And so I am not in any way close to touching saying that Luka and the Lakers are going to go on that type of run. I am just going to point out that in the NBA, you sometimes see teams put things together health-wise and chemistry-wise and effort-wise, and things fall into place and they take off. And I think what's happening with the Lakers right now is relevant. That's all I'm going to say.
It is relevant. There's no doubt about it, but it doesn't mean they're going to the finals. And the reason why it doesn't mean that way is because, A, they're not good enough defensively to offset the combination of San Antonio and OKC.
Probably.
Beating one of them is possible. Beating both of them is highly unlikely. That's number one. Number two, they're the second worst in the league in terms of bench production. So as great as Luka is, as great as LeBron has been, as great as Austin Reeves and others can be and have been, the fact remains that depth is an issue with the Los Angeles Lakers. And that is a problem you do not need to have when you're talking about San Antonio and OKC being 2 teams that are roadblocks and impediment to the success that you're hoping to achieve. That's really what this all comes down to. Luka is sensational. He's the league leader in scoring. he's third in the league in assists. We keep forgetting that. He's not just scoring, he's assisting in others scoring the basketball as well. We look at it, Austin Reeves. This is a brother that has arrived on the scene and put everybody on notice about how special he is. And we know he could put up buckets. You look at LeBron, he's playing center at times. He's putting up triple doubles at times. He's dunking, leading the league in fast break points. And in the open court is playing above the rim in his 23rd season in the NBA, which is nothing short of phenomenal. So we're seeing all of these things. So the question to ask yourself when you ask a question like this is the combination of Luka, AR, and LeBron enough to bring you a championship? And the answer is no, because it's asking too much of those three to do it all for you on both ends of the floor without getting spelled for, because you can't give them a break because nobody comes off the bench to produce for them. That's what you're really, really looking at right now when you're talking about going up against a San Antonio and an OKC. I think the Lakers have a shot to beat San Antonio. I think that's a 7-game series. I really, really do. And in the 7th game with Luka and LeBron having to deal with that, it'd be interesting to see what San Antonio would do and how they'd rise to that occasion. Oklahoma City obviously is a different beast in and of itself because they're champions, they're tried and tested, and they've got a superstar in Shai Gilgeous-Alexander that ain't going anywhere. And Jalen Williams just got back, and Lord help everybody if he gets his legs under him. So those are all things to think about. But I think the answer to this question would be no, but it's not through any fault of Luka. It's the fact that they lack depth, particularly with their bench. And you know what? Defensively, they're better, but they're still not great. Period.
That's true. And that's true. I will say this, Shay. I think the Lakers have 2 games left with Oklahoma City. One in OKC, one here in Los Angeles. And OKC is in a reasonably serious fight for the number 1 seed, which I think they want. So I don't think they're going to shut guys down for those games. So while I think that the Lakers have really been impressive with this road trip and really worked so hard to get to the 3 seed, this is a better question to ask after seeing them play full power at Oklahoma City over the next, I think it's 7 to 10 days.
Okay. You mentioned the 17 steals for Luka Doncic over the last 11.
43 points without DeAndre Ayton, without Marcus Smart, without Rui Hachimura on the road. And in the middle of all of it, Luka Doncic quietly became the first player since Michael Jordan in 1986 to average 40 or more points on a 6-game road trip. The Lakers are 47-26. They have won 10 of their last 11 games. And tonight, the Denver Nuggets, the team sitting 1.5 games behind them in the standings, just watched Jamal Murray drop 53 points, while Nikola Jokic posted 23 points and 21 rebounds in a 142-135 win over Dallas, which means the race for the 3rd seed in the Western Conference just got real in a way that every Lakers fan needs to process immediately. Meanwhile, Oklahoma City lost to the Boston Celtics. SGA's MVP lead over Doncic in the odds narrowed from -1,000 to -700 in a single week. And a man who used to drink Hennessy at halftime and described Phil Jackson as a psychotic control freak with the deepest possible admiration just gave the most unexpectedly honest interview in Lakers franchise history. Tonight, we are covering all of it. Hit that like button right now if you are locked in with this Lakers team all the way to the playoffs, because we have an enormous amount to get through, and we are not wasting a single second. So let us begin talking firstly about what happened in Indianapolis on Wednesday night. Because the 137-130 victory over the Indiana Pacers was not just a bounce-back win after the Detroit loss, it was a statement performance delivered under circumstances that would have tested the resolve of any team in the league. The Lakers played this game without DeAndre Ayton, who was held out with back spasms. Without Marcus Smart, who is managing both a right ankle contusion and a right hip issue simultaneously. Without Rui Hachimura, who missed his 2nd consecutive game with right calf soreness. And without Adu Thiero, who added a left knee problem to the injury list. 4 rotation players absent from a road game against a team that had just snapped its own franchise record 16-game losing streak. And that was playing at home with genuine energy and the specific motivation of a group that had found its competitive spirit again after weeks of darkness. The Pacers, led by nobody's definition of the word, were still dangerous enough to make this game uncomfortable. Pascal Siakam scored 20 points. Andrew Nembhard recorded a career-high 19 assists and 14 points. TJ McConnell came off the bench to score 17. And Jay Huff added 18 in a game where 8 Indiana players reached double figures. The Pacers made the Lakers work for this one. And the Lakers, depleted and road-weary after the 6th game of a 6-game trip, built a 29-point lead in the 3rd quarter and never trailed from the opening possession. The star Caitlin Clark was on the sideline as a credentialed photographer, which is the kind of detail that belongs in the memory of a night that already had enough layers. And she got to watch one of the more complete offensive performances this Lakers team has produced since the winning streak began. Doncic went 15 for 30 from the field with 43 points, 7 assists, and 6 rebounds. Austin Reeves contributed 25 points and 8 assists in the specific kind of complimentary performance that reminds you why the Lakers are building a $240 million contract offer for him this summer. LeBron James added 23 points and 9 assists in a near triple-double that reflected everything about the evolved version of this player. Efficient, decisive, impactful, without dominating possessions, and completely aligned with what this team needs from its 3rd star. And in the absence of Ayton, Jackson Hayes stepped into a role that nobody in the national conversation had been discussing and delivered 21 points and 10 rebounds, a double-double performance that was the most significant individual game of his entire season, and that demonstrated something important about the depth of this roster when it is called upon unexpectedly. I believe that a 137-130 road win against a team fighting for pride, delivered by a depleted rotation on the last stop of a 6-game trip, with Jackson Hayes producing a career-level performance in the starting center role, tells you more about the competitive character of this group than any comfortable victory over a weaker opponent ever could, because it proves that the identity this team has built since the All-Star break is not dependent on any single player being available, but on the collective standard that has been established and that every player in the rotation has absorbed. Within that victory, Doncic added another line to a historical record that has been building with such frequency and such density over the last month that it is becoming genuinely difficult to keep track of all the milestones accumulating simultaneously. According to the Sporting News, the 43-point performance against Indiana made Doncic the first player since Michael Jordan in 1986 to average 40 or more points on a 6-game road trip in NBA history. 40 years separate the last time anyone accomplished that specific feat and the night Luka Doncic accomplished it in Indianapolis on Wednesday. The players between Jordan's 1986 run and Doncic's current one include every dominant scorer of the last 4 decades: Kobe Bryant, Shaquille O'Neal, Allen Iverson, Tracy McGrady, LeBron James himself, Kevin Durant, Stephen Curry, and none of them matched this specific combination of volume, efficiency, and sustained dominance across 6 consecutive road games. The 6-game road trip produced 43 points against Indiana, 33 against Detroit, 33 against Orlando, 60 against Miami, 40 against Houston on Wednesday, and 36 against Houston on Monday, a sequence that includes the highest scoring game in Lakers franchise history since Kobe Bryant. And that began with back-to-back 36 and 40-point performances in Houston before the 60-point masterpiece in Miami arrived to overshadow everything that came before it. Since the beginning of March, Doncic is averaging 36.9 points, 8.2 rebounds, and 7.4 assists per game, while shooting 48.4% from the field and 38.1% from three-point range. He has scored at least 30 points in 10 consecutive games, all of which the Lakers have won except for the 3-point loss to Detroit. And he has done all of this while leading the NBA in scoring average, field goal attempts, free throw attempts, three-point attempts, and three-point makes simultaneously, a domination of every volume statistic in the league that has no current equivalent anywhere in the sport. Thinking about it carefully, the Michael Jordan comparison arriving in the specific context of a road trip performance is significant not just as a headline, but as a reflection of what sustained excellence under adverse conditions actually looks like. Because Jordan's 1986 run, like Doncic's 2026 run, happened not in comfortable home games against weak opponents, but in the specific environment where great players are most tested and most revealed. The consequence of that sustained excellence is playing out in real time in the MVP odds market. And the movement over the last 48 hours is the most dramatic single shift in the race since Doncic began his March surge. Before Wednesday's game, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander sat at -1,000 in the DraftKings odds, an implied probability of 90+% that represented near certainty in the betting markets. After Doncic's 43-point performance and SGA's loss to the Boston Celtics on the same night, those odds have moved to -700 for SGA and +900 for Doncic. A shift that reflects the convergence of two simultaneous developments that both favor Doncic's candidacy. The Thunder's loss to Boston on Wednesday night was not a minor result. It dropped their winning streak to 0, left them with a 2-game cushion over San Antonio for the first seed in the Western Conference, and raised a genuine question about whether SGA and OKC can maintain the dominance that has been the structural foundation of his MVP case all season. The argument for SGA has always rested on two pillars: his individual statistical excellence and his team's record superiority over the Lakers. The individual numbers remain extraordinary: 31.6 points, 4.4 rebounds, 6.6 assists on 55.3% shooting. But the team record pillar is now showing its first real cracks of the season. And every game where the Thunder fail to win is a game where the primary counter-argument to Doncic's case loses a small piece of its structural integrity. Victor Wembanyama also moved in the odds this week, rising from +1,300 to +1,100 after San Antonio dismantled Memphis for their 7th consecutive victory and moved to within 2 games of the first seed in the West, a development that creates a fascinating three-way tension at the top of the MVP conversation in the final weeks of the regular season. I believe the odds movement from -1,000 to -700 for SGA in the span of a single week is the most significant indicator of how much the landscape has shifted. Because betting markets aggregate the informed judgments of thousands of people simultaneously, and they do not move that dramatically without genuine reason. And the genuine reason, right now, is Luka Doncic averaging 36.9 points in March, while the Thunder are losing to the Celtics, and San Antonio is winning 7 in a row. Now, let us talk about something that happened during Wednesday's victory that received almost no coverage in the box score or the recap articles, but that tells you more about the internal culture and the competitive DNA of this Lakers team than any individual performance statistic can communicate. Marcus Smart was not in uniform on Wednesday night. He was on the bench in street clothes, managing his ankle and hip injuries, watching his teammates play without him for the second consecutive game. And at some point in the second quarter, while the Pacers were on a 10-2 run and the Lakers were navigating a brief stretch of defensive vulnerability, Smart received a technical foul from the bench. He was called for protesting a non-call too aggressively, arguing for a foul on behalf of his teammates, while sitting in civilian clothes with no ability to contribute anything beyond his voice and his presence. The technical foul was not the story. The story is what it reveals about who Marcus Smart is and what he brings to this team in ways that no box score entry captures. Smart admitted publicly this week that Luka Doncic and LeBron James are not significant talkers. They lead through performance and through presence rather than through vocal communication, and that he takes it upon himself to fill that specific leadership gap, to be the voice that holds defensive rotations accountable, that challenges teammates when the standard drops, that fights for his guys even from a folding chair with no statistical stake in the outcome. The numbers confirm the magnitude of his absence. The Lakers have a net rating of plus 8.1 with Smart on the floor and minus 2.4 without him, a swing of more than 10 points per 100 possessions that is among the largest individual impact differentials on any roster in the league. They have won 65% of the games he has played in and are 8-5 without him this season. And by assuming defensive responsibility for opposing wings and perimeter players who are larger than his 6'3" frame, he has created a cascading defensive benefit for everyone around him, forcing himself to compete at maximum intensity to compensate for physical disadvantages, which in turn removes the defensive burden from LeBron and Doncic and reduces the compensating work that Ayton must do as the last line of rim protection. A technical foul from the bench during a stretch of adversity is not a story about poor sideline behavior. It is a story about a man who is constitutionally incapable of accepting defeat quietly, whose competitive investment in this team exists independently of whether his name appears in the lineup. Thinking about it carefully, Marcus Smart getting a technical foul while sitting in street clothes on a Wednesday night in Indianapolis is the most accurate single image of what this team has become since he joined the rotation. A group defined by standards that exist even when the game is being played by someone else. The conversation about who Smart is and what he provides is inseparable from the larger conversation about the ideal first-round playoff matchup, because the specific way Smart's presence transforms this team's defensive identity has direct and specific implications for which opponents in the Western Conference the Lakers can handle most comfortably, and which ones present the most genuinely dangerous structural problems. The Houston Rockets represent the clearest answer to the question of the ideal matchup, and the reasoning goes beyond simple recency bias from the 2 consecutive road victories the Lakers collected in Houston earlier this month. The Rockets lost Fred VanVleet to injury and never adequately replaced him. The veteran guard was the connective tissue holding together a backcourt situation that was always fragile. And the Rockets' failure to address that vulnerability at the trade deadline has left them with a team that defends exceptionally well, but creates offense with a predictability and a limitation that Doncic and Redick's system is perfectly designed to exploit. Kevin Durant is a genuine challenge at the individual level, as always, but the broader Rockets roster, without VanVleet directing the offense, and without a reliable secondary creation option who can force defenses into genuine two-way attention, becomes a team that the Lakers can neutralize with the same defensive aggressiveness and late-game execution that produced back-to-back wins in Toyota Center. The Denver Nuggets are the opponents the Lakers most want to avoid, Not because Denver has been playing better basketball recently, though Jamal Murray's 53-point explosion on Wednesday and Nikola Jokic's near quadruple double are a reminder of what that team can produce when its best players are healthy and locked in. But because the specific Jokic matchup against DeAndre Ayton creates a dynamic that has historically been unfavorable for the Lakers, and because Denver's playoff experience and championship pedigree represent a level of October through June institutional knowledge that the current Lakers roster does not yet possess. Murray's 53 points on Wednesday night, a career high, accomplished in a 142-135 victory over Dallas, is a direct and urgent reminder that the 4th seed in the Western Conference is not a comfortable place to be if Denver is the team waiting there. The Lakers' tiebreaker over Denver protects them from having to face the Nuggets in round 1 if both teams finish with the same record. A protection that Austin Reaves earned with his perfectly executed intentional free throw miss against Denver 2 weeks ago, and that now looms as one of the most consequential single plays of the entire season. I believe the Lakers' playoff fate depends more on matchup luck and the specific health of their rotation than on any individual performance during these final 8 regular season games. And that the combination of maintaining the 3rd seed and drawing Houston in round 1 represents the optimal outcome, the specific pathway that gives this team the best chance of making the deep run that the 9-game winning streak and the Michael Jordan road trip comparisons suggest it is capable of. Within that playoff preparation context, there is a summer roster conversation that connects directly to the first round matchup discussion, and it involves a player currently suiting up for the exact team the Lakers most want to face in round 1. Terry Eason of the Houston Rockets is being identified by multiple sources as a primary offseason target for the Los Angeles Lakers, and the reasoning is specific and compelling for anyone who has watched what this team's defensive transformation has been built on. Eason is a defensive force with the athleticism to guard multiple positions and the physical tools to compete at the highest level against wings and forwards across multiple playoff rounds. His offensive limitations in Houston's system, a system that does not open the floor in ways that allow him to express the full range of his scoring, would be directly addressed by playing alongside Doncic, whose gravity as a shot creator pulls defenders toward him and creates the exact kind of open catch and shoot opportunities that Eason has shown the ability to convert when given clean looks. The reason Eason might be available is financial. The Rockets, like the Denver Nuggets before them, have significant salary commitments at the top of their cap structure that make retaining all of their contributors increasingly difficult as the summer approaches. If the financial path opens and the Lakers can structure a deal that keeps Austin Reaves while adding Eason's defensive profile to the rotation, the combination of Doncic's creation, Reaves' two-way versatility, Smart's defensive leadership, and Eason's athleticism and switching ability would give J.J. Redick the specific defensive toolkit that championship-caliber teams require to win 4 playoff series in a single postseason. Thinking about it carefully, the fact that Eason currently plays for the team the Lakers most want to face in round 1 creates a fascinating dual narrative. Beat Houston now, then build with their assets in the summer. That underscores how completely this franchise is operating with both the present and the future in simultaneous focus. The deeper playoff preparation conversation ultimately requires acknowledging something that every honest analyst has been building toward for weeks. The question of what version of the Los Angeles Lakers actually shows up in April and May, and whether J.J. Redick has internalized the lessons of last season's first-round exit in ways that will change the specific coaching decisions that cost the team games against Minnesota. Zach Lowe put it directly on the Bill Simmons podcast. The bench players around the three Lakers stars are a collection of players who have lost coaches' trust in the playoffs multiple times throughout their careers. Last season, in Game 4 against the Timberwolves, Redick played 5 starters the entire second half of a game they lost, a decision that reflected a catastrophic collapse of faith in his bench at the worst possible moment, and that ended with players running out of physical and mental gas in a fourth quarter that determined the season. The bench is meaningfully better this year. Luke Kennard is the most accurate three-point shooter in the league. Marcus Smart is a former champion and Defensive Player of the Year. Rui Hachimura shoots 48.5% from 3 in playoff games, a mark that dramatically exceeds his regular season average. DeAndre Ayton has finals experience with Phoenix. Jackson Hayes just proved on Wednesday that he can deliver a 21-point, 10-rebound performance as a starter when his number is called. These are not the same role players as last year, but the question is not whether they are good enough. It is whether Redick will trust them through the difficult stretches when playoff opponents have specifically designed schemes to neutralize them, and when the temptation to lean entirely on Doncic, LeBron, and Reeves becomes almost overwhelming. The March version of Redick, the version that trusted Kennard to take the game winner in Orlando, that trusted Hayes to anchor the paint against Indiana without Ayton, is the version that gives this team a genuine chance at a deep run. I believe Redick has genuinely grown from his first-year mistakes in ways that the distribution of responsibility during this winning stretch has demonstrated clearly, and that the coaching decisions of the last 3 weeks represent the strongest possible evidence that he will not repeat the same error of over-reliance on March 2026 that defined his April 2025. But believing it and seeing it confirmed over 7 games of playoff basketball against a prepared opponent are different things. And the 8 regular season games remaining are the final opportunity to build the habits and the trust that will determine which version of JJ Redick appears when the elimination games begin. Now, before we close out tonight, we need to end with something that arrived in the archives this week, and that deserves a full and completely honest accounting, because it is the most unexpectedly candid window into Lakers franchise culture that has been published in years. A 2009 interview from the Sporting News archives with Ron Artest, who walked into the Lakers organization that summer and immediately produced one of the most disarmingly honest self-portraits any professional athlete has ever offered to a journalist. Artest told the Sporting News that he used to drink Hennessy at halftime during games when he played for the Chicago Bulls, that he would literally walk to the liquor store near the arena before games and keep the bottle in his locker. He described his time in Chicago as a period when he was a head case who had this ghetto thing he could not get out of himself, who the Bulls were forced to move because the situation had become impossible despite their desire to keep him. He described his own early fatherhood as being a single pimp at 19 years old, surrounded by marijuana and alcohol, before the NBA forced a maturity that his upbringing in the projects of Queens had not provided. He revealed that at 13 years old, he had crack cocaine in his hand and chose not to sell it, not because of any institutional intervention or moral instruction, but because seeing the physical destruction the drug caused in the people around him scared him away from a path that many of the people he grew up with followed. And within all of that extraordinary honesty about his past, Artest described Phil Jackson in a way that is both hilarious and philosophically precise, calling him a man with psychotic control who was different from every other coach because he knew what he had, knew he was great, knew the organization trusted him completely, and exercised that authority with a quiet intensity that made you feel you could never fully predict what he was thinking. The phrase psychotic control from a player about his own coach, delivered as the highest possible compliment, is the kind of thing that only Ron Artest could produce and that only Phil Jackson could inspire. Thinking about it carefully, the artist interview surfacing this week is a gift, not just as entertainment, but as a reminder that the Los Angeles Lakers have always attracted complicated, brilliant, difficult, extraordinary human beings who produce transcendent basketball precisely because of the complexity and not despite it, and that the specific culture of this franchise has always had room for the artists and the smarts and the Lebrons and the Doncics, players who are, each in their own way, impossible to fully contain and magnificent precisely for that reason.